that's kind of like MTV. We had a little video to start out with, right? It's all about video today, and we are live on Shop-Ware Analytics with Rick White. Man, you're our star here today, Rick.
Well, I'm not sure I'm a star anywhere, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we are here doing analytic discussions with Rick White, Carolyn Cocolette from Shop-Ware, the CEO of Shop-Ware, and Lucas Underwood. Sorry, Lucas, from L&M Performance. Now I know that like I know the back of my hand. Hey, we're in our third in a series of Facebook Live. It's, if you will, it's been a Shop-Ware series on SEP 23. We did benefits of remote pay on the 30th. We were with Broadly, and today, October 28th. How did that work? How do we have that big gap in there? I don't know why. I think I know why. I exactly know why. Analytics with Rick White. So thank you for being here. Analytics. I don't know about you, but if you don't have the numbers, Carolyn, and you don't know what to do with them, you're really just have a hobby.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about shop management a lot, right? And oftentimes when we talk about it, it's the day-to-day, putting out fires, what car, what does it need, et cetera, what's that tech doing? And obviously the shop management is the management. The other half of that is what happened. What did we do? Did we do it right? And being able to have visibility on that and being able to use some actual grown-up tools to do that is something we're very proud of. So really excited also to be joined by Lucas and Rick to be able to talk about their experience. Obviously, Rick is an extremely experienced management trainer, and Lucas is one of his clients, and Lucas is also a customer of Shop-Ware. So really excited to be able to talk about those intersections. Lucas is also outspoken advocate for independent garage owners of North Carolina, IGO. And we definitely want to talk about that today as well, and the importance of those communities. And I'm honored to be here with both of them today, and obviously with you, Carm. Thank you so much for all you're doing for Shop-Ware and for what you're doing for the industry.
You know, you stack the deck here. It's all I have to say. Because, you know, I know Lucas and Rick so well. They've been great contributors to the podcast. And Carolyn, you've been a great sponsor to us. And I have to tell you, there isn't an episode I've done or a Facebook Live that I've done that I haven't learned stuff. So if you're here and you're with us, we can see some comments up on Facebook. We'd love to know if you're here. Put down your city. If you have a question for Rick, a comment for Lucas, or even a question for Carolyn, we would absolutely love to have that done. So, Rick, let me just turn this over to you because I know that you want to get into some depths on KPIs and analytics.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending upon where you're listening from. And I want to apologize for that big delay. That was 100% on me. So I apologize for that. My schedule just didn't allow for anything sooner than this, but I really appreciate being here. So I want to start this off really quick, and I want to please the rest of the panel kick in. I want to tell you one of the biggest mistakes I see shop owners make every day. They think they're in the business of fixing cars, and you're absolutely not in the business of fixing cars. You are in the relationship business. That is your primary purpose, is to create relationships. And this goal of your business is to generate a profit. If you have neither one of those things, like Carm said, you got a hobby, right? I know every one of us has said, boy, my business would be so much more fun for all these damn customers. But here's the thing, if you don't have customers, it's a hobby. So we need the customers, but we also need happy customers. We need loyal customers, not satisfied, loyal customers, but we also need profit. And you got to have a way that's very quick to be able to look at your numbers so that, you know, the whole purpose of KPIs or key performance indicators is basically keeping your thumb on the pulse of your business very quickly. Now, what I have done is I've gone a little bit weird on this. I look at certain numbers daily, certain numbers weekly, certain numbers monthly, and certain numbers annually. Okay? So that's what I want to share today. Feel free to chime in, guys, gals.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do, Rick, is you brought, by the way, to everyone, Rick brought some fabulous slides with some great data. And I want you all to pay attention to this and watch this Facebook Live over and over again and take a lot of notes.
Oh, and here's my co-pilot. Look at this. There's my co-pilot, Lucky.
Oh,
Told
there's
you he would be here before the end of
Lucky.
the show. There's Lucky.
Yes.
Yeah,
Love
he's my
Lucky.
co-pilot. He's here to make sure I don't make any mistakes. He'll nip at me if I do. So let's talk about the daily numbers first. The daily things we want to look first at. And this actually gives your advisors a great ruler of how they're doing. So the first thing, I basically look at five key set numbers, okay? The first one is billed hours. The sum of hours billed for the day. Because you have a factory. If your factory isn't producing its potential, then you as the owner have to work at getting it better. So we're going to look at the sum of hours billed per day. And you'll notice the targets are on the right-hand side of the screen, where an A tech should be able to bill 10 to 12 hours a day. If you're not getting that, you need to talk to somebody. B tech should be able to get 8 to 10. Now, if you give a B tech or a C tech diagnostic work all day long, you may as well just shoot yourself in the foot right now. You aren't going to get any hours. You're going to frustrate everybody, and it's not going to work. You have to dispatch to strengths. But you want to be able to get these numbers. Now, the first reason why you're not getting these numbers, I've got a secret for you. It's because you don't have clarity on what you want. You don't have clarity on what you need. And that's the same for every one of these numbers we're going to share with you, okay? So I also have a sheet that I'd be willing to share, Carolyn, with any of your members. If they want to reach out to me, Rick at 180biz.com, I'd be happy to send them. I have a one-page KPI sheet that tells them what the targets are, how the calculations are done, and they can actually use it as worksheet to get theirs out. So if that works, that's great. But that's the first number we're going to look at. The next number we're going to look at is invoice count. Why? Because your total billed hours are made up of two numbers, your invoice count per day and your hours per RO. Now, invoice count is simply the sum of completed invoices. And I got to tell you something, shop owners, please listen to this. Your answer to profitability, your answer to happiness, your answer to less stress is not more cars. It's about being more effective with the cars you have, okay? So my target is 3 to 4 invoices per tech per day, okay? If they're doing a great job with their evaluations, if you have a labor matrix put in, if you have all the different strategies in play, that's going to work amazingly for you. The third number we're going to look at is hours per RO, okay? And that's simply your sold hours or credited hours to your techs, right? Billed hours or credited hours, divided by the number of invoices for that day. Excuse me. I promise that's not Rona. So now, what we're looking at is we want a target of 2.5 to 3.5 hours per RO. 100% doable. I can't tell you the number of clients I have with general repair shops that are averaging between 3.2 and 4 hours a ticket. Okay? It's about slowing down. First rule in business, if you want to get better results, slow down. Don't go faster, slow down. The next number we're going to look at is effective labor rate per billed hour. You have a posted labor rate. You might have multiple rates, but what are you collecting? That's another indicator of how well you're doing. And these are all numbers that your advisor can watch and look at every day. Okay? Now, our target is 92% of your labor rate. Whatever your posted rate is, that's what we want to get to, because then you're doing a better job. Now, where can we look for effective labor rate leaks? How about labor discounts? How about canned jobs that you set up 10 years ago and haven't updated the labor since, right? So there's all different kinds of places we can look at, but you want to make sure you're getting your effective labor rate. And then the next two I kind of group together, which is your parts RGP. Now, parts gross profit, we recommend 52 to 55%. Understand that every shop and every demographic is going to have a different target for gross profit, but as a rule, that's what I'm giving you, okay, as benchmarks. Now, I totally believe with the transparency that's coming through in our industry more and more right now, that I believe at some point we'll be selling parts at cost or slightly above cost. And we're going to need a way, which Rick has already got a spreadsheet for, so that you can get all your gross profit in your labor, which is fine. It's going to cost the same amount. Who cares where the gross profit comes from? But for now, 52 to 55% is a really healthy number. Carolyn, would it surprise you for, and I'm sure it doesn't because you can see numbers, I'm sure, that I'm seeing an average of somewhere between 32 and 38% profit on parts when I start working with a new client.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all. And the issue has been that people haven't had help to get to that number, right? I mean, like they've just been hunting to try and get to that number, and it's fairly scattershot. You've got your advisor in there monkeying with the prices on every individual part that's being sold on every individual ticket with some attempt to shoot at a target, and being able to take that away and just say, like, look, what are you actually trying to go and get, and letting the software go and get that for you is a very powerful shift for folks.
Yes.
But I think your comment about parts pricing is really interesting, and I've had this discussion with my 20 group, which is if you take the gross profit dollars that you're making on parts in a period, let's say that it's last month, you take your total GP on parts and you divide it by the number of build hours in that same period, you essentially know on average what are you making per build hour on a part. And if you're going to use a customer part, like a customer provided part where you're not making any GP, or if the customer's beating you up on your part pricing because they've looked it up and they can see that Rock Auto is selling it for XYZ, and so suddenly now in order to make the sale, you have to sell that thing at whatever Rock Auto's price is, basically you just create a labor rate that is that number of GP dollars per build hour higher than your standard rate. So let's say that Luscious is making $50 on average GP per build hour on parts, and my standard labor rate is $180, which is what it is right now. Well, then my labor rate, when you bring your own parts or you beat me up on the price from Rock Auto, is now $230. It's $180 plus $50, and then I can just charge you that labor rate free and clear and know that I'm essentially going to make exactly the same amount of GP per build hour as if I would have just sold you the parts at whatever my normal markup would be. So there are ways of essentially still getting the profit that you want, even if you're having to meet the customer at a more transparent price.
Boy, there's been so much dialogue on that. I actually had a half-hour discussion with someone in the industry on that exact thing, Carolyn. And this person says, no, I can't do it. And I says, all I'm trying to tell the industry is to pay attention to it, because one day it's going to come up and creep up. And if you don't know how to make that move, right, Rick, if you're not flexible enough where you've studied new techniques, new ways of doing business, you're going to go backwards pretty fast, like we've all learned when COVID hit. If we didn't have a cloud-based system, if we weren't paperless, if we weren't text to pay and all that stuff, and it really hit us up hard. Today, I think COVID taught us you got to pay attention to everything and don't discount anything. Like fuel injection. Well, that'll go away. Sorry,
not so much.
It hasn't. Lucas, a question to you. Rick mentioned labor matrix, gross profit matrix. Is that a key component for you in Shop-Ware?
Absolutely. That's huge for us because it takes some of that legwork out, and it takes and automates part of the advisor's process. And that's really important to us because it helps us expedite the process, and it takes some of that calculation and some of that frustration pulling up the sheet. When Rick and I first started coaching, he gives me this sheet and he says, here's your labor and your parts matrix. Oh man, every job I've got to go down this line and calculate. Oh no, Shop-Ware takes care of it. So that's huge. And I'll tell you something else, Carm. Looking at this slide that Rick has up on the screen, I'm going to tell you something about it. That's the key, right? And we see shop owners, whether they're in IGO or ASOG or wherever they come from, and we start in this thing about getting better with our business. We don't know where to go. We don't know what to turn to. And it all starts with potential. And if you've got somebody watching that says, I want to improve my business, right here's the key, right? That's exactly where you need to start. That's where you're going to fix your business. He's laid it out for you. It's no more complicated than what's on the screen. So I just think that's an amazing opportunity.
As I said in the beginning, thank you for that, Lucas. As I said in the beginning, Rick's just giving you he's giving you the key to the castle here.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
One of the things people do is they I don't know if any of you are Star Trek fans, the old one, the original, right? With, James T. Kirk, right?
Beam me up,
Tribbles?
Scotty.
Do you remember Tribbles?
Tribbles,
The trouble with Tribbles, right? I want you to envision a Tribble and call it profit. And you're going to hold on to that Tribble and you're going to love it and stroke it and hug it. And then what you're going to do is give that tribble to your advisor and say, please take good care of this. Don't kill it on me. And that's when you give every control over to your advisor. When you want to do is take advantage of your shop management system, like Shop-Ware, and build your profit model into the system so that the advisor will become data entry, and they don't have to think about it. It takes some of the emotion out, right? It really makes a big difference. You need to be aware of that, and you got to understand that everybody in our industry is selling on price. They're selling on on fear of price, and you've got to be selling with confidence of value. If you can get price out of your head and get confidence of value into your heart, you will never apologize for your prices again. I have one sentence I teach every client: my price is fair and my price is firm. My price is fair and my price is firm. When someone is arguing you over your price, like I get it down the street cheaper, you start thinking, oh crap, I'm going to lose this sale. Stop it. That's what they want you to do. What you should be thinking is, holy crap, they really want to do business with me. They want what I'm going to give them for what they could pay somewhere else. I just got to show them the value for that little bit of difference, and I'm going to get the sale every time. And we've just got to be aware of that. Okay, so there's a little bit of rabbit hole on you that's going to make you money right away if you start using it. Okay, so the next number we're going to look at daily is tire gross profit. Okay, and look at, you shouldn't be. Here's what I'm going to tell you: if you're a general repair shop, if you're trying to get into the tire business, you're behind the ball already. There are people out there selling the rubber for pennies on a dollar. You'll never be able to compete with those guys. If you're going to go into the tire business, it should be to keep your customers at your shop. They already see the value of doing business with you. They already appreciate what you do for them. They don't have to go to a second place to get their tires rotated and try to get upsold a bunch of stuff. So just keep the expectation there. If you can do that, you can easily add $100,000 a year at a healthy margin with tires with very, very little investment. It really does work. So think that through. If you're not selling tires now, if you are, stop trying to compete with all the tire stores out there. They have their customer and they can keep them. You don't want them. Trust me, they're 80% of your headaches.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to
Great point, Rick. Prevent them from going anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Amen. That's what I'm going to do. Now look at back in 1995. If I had a customer that had a car with a warranty issue, I actually called the dealer, made the appointment, brought the car over for the customer. Okay, I gave them a loaner vehicle, and we brought the car to the dealer for the customer. We dealt with the dealer, and that was one of the value adds that we did for our customers, and we did it to keep them out of the dealer. We didn't want them to see what the dealer was doing. You know, their facility was nicer than ours. They treated them happier. Like if you ever want to have a dealership experience at your store, invest $3 million in the building and then treat your customers like crap. You got a dealer experience. There you go. Okay, but here's the thing: you got to be out there. You got to think things through. Okay, so I'm going to add one more number to those daily numbers though for you. It's not on there, but I'm going to want you to add this. I want you to track your work in process. I want you to track your work in process. See, invoice count is an indicator of throughput. Body shops are experts at this. Auto repair, we suck at throughput. Okay, we have so much potential, and based on bottlenecks in the business, we get this much when we could get this much. But what we keep saying to ourselves is, I need more cars, I need more cars, I need more cars. Look, if you're averaging 5 cars folding over every day because you couldn't finish them, and you don't have the invoice count you should, dude, you don't have a car count problem. You have a bottleneck problem. Start looking, right? Get your team together. Start asking them what the problem is. So one more thing you want to track: how many cars are being held over, either in process, waiting to get to on the lift, waiting for parts, waiting for authorization, any of those things. Okay? So you want to track work in process every single day. That's going to show you if you have a marketing issue or if you have a bottleneck issue. So those are our daily numbers. And anybody wants to talk?
Well, you know, one of the things that you taught me when we first started working together was trust but verify. right? And I think it's really important, especially because we're talking Shop-Ware, that we all recognize that Shop-Ware does not do the trust but verify part, right? You've still got to do the verify part. It puts it up there. You can look at it. You can see it. But Shop-Ware makes it extremely easy for me to know exactly where to click, exactly where to look. Anytime I open the software, I know where do we stand for the day, the week, the month, and I can move it around. I can look at all different types of analytics. But that's huge for me because the number one job that you've taught me that I have in this shop is verify that we're going where we're supposed to go. Teach them where we're supposed to go. Set it up to where it's a process. It just happens. But verify that's what we're actually doing. Don't expect it.
Absolutely. I mean, when we first start our shops, and I'm guilty of the same thing, right? I'm guilty of the same thing where you buy your shop or you start your shop from nothing. You start out as CEO, which is Chief Everything Officer, and it's kind of like that old Staples commercial. I'm IT Rick. I'm maintenance Rick. I'm storage, resource manager Rick. HR. I sell. I produce. But our goal when we start our shops is not to stay there or get stuck in the middle. Your goal is to figure out what your top 3 jobs are that are the most productive and profitable to your shop, and you want to eliminate everything else that's on your table, on your plate, so you increase sales. Like bookkeeping, look it, I'm worth probably $400 to $500 an hour. If I start bookkeeping for my company, I'm worth $25. Why in the world would I ever do bookkeeping? Right? So I increase sales, I hire a bookkeeper, right? And then the next thing we did is we increased sales more, and we hired a person that creates all our content. I do a brain dump, and then this woman, my sister-in-law, Sandy, she just does an amazing job. She puts our PowerPoint slides together and the books together, and I through them with her, and it's cut. We've gone through from creating 1 or 2 classes a year content to 4 to 5 classes a year, plus a webinar every month. It's amazing. So you got to get rid of the stuff that's not making you money and become CEO, Chief Executive Officer, where eventually you're creating the vision. You're creating the destination. You're making sure everybody's doing what you want. You're creating and protecting your brand, how it feels to do business with you. That's what we've got to do. Okay? So this is important. Starting to watch the numbers, first step. Let's go to weekly, Carm.
We will go weekly. Here's our weekly.
Weekly, we're going to look at gross profit. Now, look at the 2 stars there. We're going to look at gross profit under 2 conditions. Number 1, all our financial data is in our financial software. Because if it isn't, it's not going to be accurate. Why bother? Second, it's based on paying weekly. Because you got to get labor cost in there. All right, get an accurate number of accurate look at your gross profit. If you pay every other week or twice a month, then you look at your gross profit based on pay cycle. So you just need to be aware of that. Now, for years, profit target's been 60%. That's what I grew up with when I had a shop. I'm telling you today, I used to say 62 to 65. Today, I'm telling you, you need 65% gross profit. Here's why. How many of you are finding it harder to get people to help you out, to join your team? And I need to tell you, that's not going to get any easier anytime soon. You have got to be able to generate the gross profit in order to provide benefits that you're not currently providing now. You know, all the crap we used to give, like health insurance and vacations and stuff like that. I know you give some vacations, you're being skimpy, right? You're being skimpy. We got to start looking at this differently. We got to start providing a benefits package and a culture, right? Conditions that make it so that people want to work there. Now, that is something Lucas and I worked really hard on. And Lucas now has literally technicians and advisors. He's expanding, not Lucas personally, but his business. And
I don't know, he might be expanding still.
Yeah. Don't look at his hair. But anyway, he's expanding and he's putting ads out there and he's getting people all over the country reaching out to him saying they want to work with him. And it's because of the conditions, the environment, the culture that he has created over the last couple of years, and the benefits and compensation packages that he has, and the reputation. CBCR, compensation, benefits, conditions, reputation. That's what you got to build on to get the very best people.
Absolutely.
It's not an easy answer, You got to work on it. Second thing you got to do is realize if you're getting a really good tech, you're stealing them from somebody else. We have got to start thinking about growing our own. If you've got a B tech that's been with you for 5 years, why the hell are they still a B tech? You should be investing in them and training and giving them skills and challenging them to become A techs. So we got to watch it. All right, Carolyn, it looks like you're all excited. Do you want to say something?
I just can't get over the wisdom that's being shared on this panel. I mean, this is incredible, Rick. You just every single thing that you're saying is so insightful. I'm just having this delectable meal here, thinking of all these great insights. And now I've given you a chance to have a sip of water. Do you mind continuing, or you want me to?
No, I'm good.
Give you a little bit of a break.
I'm good. I know I only got.
All right.
Sorry, Carm said I only have 10 minutes, and I know I'm getting.
Don't
close.
stop me now. I love it. Keep going. Keep going.
I'm getting close. Okay, so gross profit 65%. If you're not at 65%, we need to talk. Okay, parts to labor. Look at that's a really good number, but nobody's really understood why. Because it's looking at how you're doing on your labor side. I find so many shops giving labor away. And why do we do that? Because it is a habit we've had for centuries, kidding, kind of, where we've been subsidizing auto repair for customers for years and years and years. We've got to stop. So by watching our parts sales, labor sales, it gives us an indicator of how well you're doing at capturing the labor. That's a really big part of it. Next, percentage of oil services. Now, I don't like the word oil change. I want customers, I have on my mission, Crusades, is to get the industry to stop saying oil change, because we're not changing the oil. We're servicing the vehicle. Changing the one fluid is only part of that service. That will stop people from coming in and saying, no, I just want my oil changed. Sir, there's 17,000 moving parts on your vehicle. Do you think changing one fluid is going to help keep your vehicle safe and dependable for the next 3 to 6 months?
It's so true. And you just need to get the language out. Just don't even put it out there in the space. Just get the language out of there. It's always a maintenance service. That's what the car actually needs. Right, exactly.
Minor service, major service, 3,000 mile service, 5,000, 7,500. I don't care what you call it. Don't call it an oil change. Now, you want to track these. Why? 40 to 50%. Why? Because it's the only service your customer comes to you for. You want to know how many are coming in. You want to see a lot of these. Look, when I had my shop, we were averaging 160 to 180 invoices a month, and 100 of them started up as oil services. And our average ticket was running $540, 4 hours of labor, and $79 labor rate, just to give you some idea. So there were some decent numbers back then. Okay? So you got to watch your oil services. Don't hate the oil service. Other thing I see shops make a mistake of all the time is we have a general service tech. We have a tech that's the least experienced working on the most vehicles, and guess what's happening to opportunity? It's a giant flushing sound because we're looking at the oil change as an activity, not an opportunity. Your job is to separate the customer from their car. Don't do a lot of weight oil changes, oil services. Separate them from the car, do your job, have a spot-on tech, look at the job, because your general service techs, your C techs are not going to know pattern failures. They're not going to know where to look. They're not going to know what to look at. They're not going to know what to recommend. You got to have your best techs doing your oil services, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Next, new customers. New customers. You need new customers. Here's why. I have found study after study about 17 to 21% database erosion annual with almost every shop I've ever worked with, including my own. Okay. You need 20% growth of new customers to maintain your database strength, or 30% or better to grow. If you have 50 or 60% growth customers, you have a retention problem. So we got to be careful with that number, okay? But you want to see 20 to 30%, in my opinion, on a monthly basis of new customers. Very, very important. How many of you have said, man, I was really busy 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but now I'm really struggling? What are you doing, marketing? Nothing. When we do a beta database research, we find that they had 1,000 customers 2 years ago. They have 600 today. And they're wondering why they aren't making any money. Okay? Next two numbers, reviews and referrals. Here's the thing. I put this out there. People laugh at me, and I'm used to it. It's okay. But here's the thing. Percentage of reviews and percentage of referrals. They're important to every business. Why don't you have a goal for them? I think 10% of every customer that comes into your building every month should be leaving you a review. If they're not leaving you a review, it's because you didn't do a good enough job with them. You didn't ask for it. Okay? You should be doing such a great job. They're like, holy crap, I'm going to stop everybody on the street and tell them how good you are. But you don't. You think about the car. You think about the repair. You think about getting it done. You don't think about the experience. You don't think about how that customer feels through the process. So it's really important to have these reviews. So I had one client that looked at that number 10%. She goes, "You're on drugs." Again, not the first time I've heard it. And what happened was I said, "Well, how many are you getting now?" We figured it out. She was getting 0.5% on average per month. And she was running about 300 to 400 tickets a month at a shop, 10-bay shop. I said, "So what if you went to 5% and not 10? What would that mean to you?" That would suck, wouldn't it? So you should have reviews and referrals. You need to have a number, a goal to go after. And here's why. Because most management training, and listen to this carefully, please. Most management training is numbers driven. So that when we teach our advisors, we start teaching them numbers. We want them to hit numbers. But remember, we need two things to have a successful business. We need profit. That's definitely one of them. But we need happy, loyal customers. If we don't have either one of those, we're in trouble. Okay? So what I see happen, typically what happens is when we start management training, we have lots of happy customers and no money. And we train a shop owner on how to get that money, and they become so money focused, we forget about the person. So having numbers for reviews and referrals, really important. Keep your focus on the ball, on what really counts. Anything anybody want to chime in on?
I've got to chime in on oil services, right? And one of the big things, and so in ASOG, one of the big things we always hear is, oh, by the way, can't say no to a waiter oil change. And when I started working with Rick, one of the first things he said to me was, "You know why they keep wanting to wait on their car, right?" And I said, "No, why?" He said, "Because you say, 'Do you want to wait on your car?' And they think, well, hey, I didn't realize I could wait. I think I'll just wait." And we set up that expectation. If we will talk to the customer about their expectation, it allows us to be a true advocate for the customer and do what's best for the customer. If we're so focused on that customer waiting, we lose sight of the end goal of taking care of the customer. Everybody's stressed out. The service writer says they're coming in, they need to go, they need to go. He's going and stressing the tech out. We miss the ball when we get into that situation. We're not taking care of our customer. And the end goal is to take care of our customer. It's as simple as saying, "Hey, Mrs. Smith, when do you need your car back by?" 3 o'clock's fine. 4 o'clock's fine. I don't need it today. I can get it back tomorrow. So I think when you talk about that and not doing too many waiter oil changes, a lot of folks in our industry say, "Oh my gosh, I couldn't say no to waiter oil changes." Say no. Just ask them, "When do you need it back by?" And you've solved your problem.
When you hear the words oil change, you think of the 10-minute quick lane.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's why it has to be changed, right, Rick?
Yeah, right. Changing one fluid's going to help your car. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, here's how I started. "Mr. Customer, why are you having your oil changed?" "Well, I know I got to keep my car, on the road for the next 3 to 6 months." "Well, do you think changing one fluid's going to do that?" "I don't know about you, but I think we need a more holistic approach, don't you? We want to make sure that you and your family are going to be safe, right? This vehicle is going to be dependable and efficient for you." That's our responsibility. That's what it's all about.
I mean, the customer asks about oil changes because that's what they know to ask for.
Right.
They call you up, "How much is your oil change?" That's just basically them saying hello. And then you start the conversation. "Hello, what's your name? What's going on? Why are you calling me today? Blah, blah, blah." And then you start educating them on, this is actually what your car needs. You need a maintenance service. The waiter discussion is obviously a hot topic. It's kind of like price shopping, and you're going to find people on all different, areas of the spectrum talking about it. In my shop, and people know, people who've talked to me in the past or know kind of what we're dealing with here in San Francisco working on hybrid cars. We love for people to wait because we don't have any parking. We don't have any space for the cars. So everyone's got to wait. But just because you're waiting doesn't mean you're not going to get sold a hybrid battery. God knows what. I mean, that has no relationship to your average ticket whatsoever. And so for folks that are dealing with people who either don't want to go anywhere or can't go anywhere, get them some Wi-Fi, get them a comfortable place to sit, get them set up, give them coffee, and then if you want to walk into that waiting room and talk to them and consult them on what their car needs, or you can walk them out, right? You can show them the car and see what you need to do. That's great. Shop-Ware does it digitally, but if they're in person, bring them on out and show them that stuff that they need to have worked on. And then they can chill back out, sit back down. I mean, we've got a couch. People fall asleep on that couch. People fall asleep while they're getting their car fixed. You got to be pretty relaxed to fall asleep. So, take care of the customer however way you need to take care of the customer. But don't let their lack of knowledge of the car dictate how you serve them. Right? It's an opportunity for you to be the professional, and you provide that leadership to them. That's what they're paying you for.
Absolutely.
Excuse me 1 second.
One of the things.
Rick disagrees with my weightings philosophy.
Well, here's the thing: is that if you set proper expectations, that's key. Right? There's nothing wrong with an oil change taking 2 hours, right? Mm-hmm. It's about communicating with them that it's going to take 2 hours. It's when we don't say you should plan on being here for 2 hours that they have a problem, right? And sometimes they're not a good fit. We're not a good fit for them, and that's okay. But the key is setting the proper expectation is what we found.
Yeah, it's interesting, for our customers. So, we've been working on hybrids for 13 years. Hybrids are like old news now, and when we first started, I looked at the business model and I said, I can't offer a $39 oil change. That's all this car is going to need. All we're going to be doing is 5Ks for, as long as it takes for us to figure out how the heck this car is going to break. We don't even know if this car is going to break at all. We were selling plug-in conversions because it was the only thing we could sell on that car. And, it was a $150 5,000-mile service. And I mean, people say it's a $150 oil change. You would never have talked about it as being an oil change. But realistically, we have people who have written us Yelp reviews that say, you know what, I come in here every 6 months or whatever, and these guys charge me $150, and that's all they charge me. Which is like amazing when you actually price your maintenance services according to what it actually costs for you to do them. If you find something on the car to sell, great. If you don't, that's fine, because you still made your money for the time that you spent on that car. That's what that car actually needs, and that's what you're delivering. So just changing the way you're presenting that to the customer and how you're, again, talking about value, people will buy that, and people will be perfectly happy as long as you're taking care of their car.
Carolyn, I think you bring up a really good point. It's not so much the weight appointment that's the issue. It's the expectation I think we create within ourselves. That standard, we've got to have them done in half an hour or something like that. And Lucas is absolutely right. We need to take control of that, right? There's four things customers are looking for. Timeliness is one of them. And that's where we have a conversation. And we have a conversation where we either agree with the customer so that we're on the same page, we adjust the customer, right? Because they're not on the same page. Or we walk away from the customer if their bag of cat's crazy, right? And there are some customers out there like that, and it's okay.
Oh yeah.
I just choose not to deal with that. I've got enough drama in my life. I don't need yours, right? And you can do that in a very elegant way. Look, at one point I had a customer call up about a check engine light, and one of my common questions is, have you had it worked on anywhere else? And she said yes, 4 other places, and I'm suing them all. At that point, I said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And she said, why not? I said, I don't want to be the 5th place sued. Good luck. And I don't have to work with people. And one of the strongest sales positions you can ever have, okay? You want to get really good at sales. I'm going to give you 3 great tips. Number 1, go into the conversation expecting nothing. If you expect nothing just other to help and serve, it's going to be amazing. They're going to feel the intention. Number 2, stay in your wheelhouse. If you don't know stuff about European vehicles, stay the hell away from them. Don't be so afraid of not having work that you take crap in you can't fix. It's a disaster for everybody. And here's the third thing, and this is key. Be willing to walk away. If you're willing to walk away from a sale, there is so much power in that. You'd be amazed when I used to say to people, and I've coached Lucas on this too, I don't think we're a good fit. Based on what your needs and our services, what we're looking to do, I just don't think we're a good fit. Good luck. And they will pull you back into the conversation 8 times out of 10. What do you mean? No, I want to work with you. Okay, let's talk about my rules. And then we do it, and it's fine. But those 3 things, right? Expect nothing, stay in your wheelhouse, be willing to walk away. huge,
Yeah,
huge,
opportunity
huge
cost is like a
rabbit hole.
whole like it's like labor inventory. People have a really hard time sort of understanding what labor inventory is. Opportunity cost is another one of these concepts that, generally speaking, a lot of shop owners don't think about, and we're so focused on. There's a sense of scarcity, which is what I think you're keying in on quite a bit. Like, oh, I got to have those cars. I got to make every single sale. Blah blah blah. And what you're missing is like you're spending so much time emphasizing this that you're missing what you could be doing otherwise. The same thing with what you were talking about earlier in terms of being a CEO. A lot of people in this business came up through the business, right? We used to be techs. And one of the greatest characteristics of being a technician is that you can fix it. You can do anything. You're a can-do type of person. And that's, so you're like, oh, I can do my bookkeeping. I can do this. I can do all the things in my business, right? And like, why would I hire someone to do that when I can do it? It's like, yeah, of course you can do all of it, but you only have so many hours in the day. And if you're spending your time bookkeeping, that means you're not spending your time doing whatever else is more important for the business. That's the opportunity cost concept. So when we can actually get our minds around like, what's the opportunity and what's the most important thing that I should be doing right now? And hey, maybe this person isn't worth my time right now, and being able to say no is that's really strategic. That's really key.
Yes.
Boy,
Opportunity
I think
cost
the
in
audience.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think the audience is getting their money's worth here, Rick, Carolyn.
Unbelievable.
We're here to talk about analytics, and it is going so deep into business acumen and in strategies and customer service, customer attitudes. One of the things, Rick, and you may have said this, on one of the shows that we've done, and if I'm repeating it, and it's yours, we'll of course give you kudos to it. But customers don't know what to ask. It says,
Right.
"I need an oil change," is almost like a question. And
Yes.
and if you don't turn that into the like you say, a service, and it's not 10 minutes, then you've not done your job. So I think we all have an opportunity when that phone rings or that person walks in, or even today online appointments, to own that transaction in how we manage it.
Yes.
Well, I don't
Absolutely.
even want to call it a transaction. I want to call it an interaction, right?
Mm.
Because here's what I want you to hear from now on. When a customer says how much it is, I don't want you to hear, oh God, I don't want you to think, oh God, another price shopper. I want you to hear, hi, I need help.
Right.
And if you could just start the conversation like that, I'm going to tell you, you can turn 7 out of 10 of those into appointments. Okay?
This is like value-based
Now,
selling. It's just like sharing the RO with the customer to sell whatever additional work the car needs. There's this concern that if I put the price in front of the customer, they're not going to say yes. It's like, are you kidding me? You're actually giving them an opportunity to say yes. And guess what they do?
Yes.
They click yes. When you give them that price and they understand it, it doesn't matter if that price is very high. If that's what their car needs and you're showcasing that value, they're going to say, yes, please fix my car. They get a choice to have that discussion themselves.
Oh my God, this is great. I have a question to everyone here. Carolyn, powerful software, Shop-Ware, and you provide that, get it out there, click to say yes. Has it really changed how shop owners that may be reluctant, or service advisors that are so reluctant, it's going to be $1,200, and they're afraid to do it, they get all nervous and sweaty because of it. Has online software really helped bridge that?
I mean, everyone using our software knows the answer to that question, and they're using that tool every single day. And realistically, we're in the business of helping people, and we're not necessarily the best salespeople, and sometimes we're sorry that the car, needs X, Y, and Z, and so we're trying to apologize or sugarcoat it or whatever. And it's like, we didn't buy that car. We're just trying here to help. And so when we can showcase here, this is how we can help you, and this is obviously what it's going to cost. Customers are grateful. And not only do they say yes, they write you a 5-star review about it, right? So then they're talking about, thank you so much for enabling me to fix my own car. Like, it's incredible, right? I mean, Lucas, you can probably speak to that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's one of the big things that we love about the software and we love about Shop-Ware is that, especially for me, and this was something that Rick and I spent a lot of time working on. I was selling out of my own wallet, and I had this like curse of knowledge. I knew how much the parts were. I knew how long it would take me to fix it. And that felt very expensive to me. But the truth was, it wasn't. right? And there were a lot of other things that I couldn't see that I provided, right? I was subsidizing the cost of their repair with my own money, the money that was supposed to send my kids to school, the money that was supposed to feed my family or take us on a vacation. I was paying to fix their car with it.
Wow.
Right. And so when we transferred into Shop-Ware, and Rick, I'm sorry, I've got to say it, right? Rick's like, don't you dare send that estimate before you call. Don't you dare do it. And there were a few times that I got in big trouble. Okay. I got in real hot water over it. And now I'm confident in calling the customer, because what that did for me is it helped me understand that it wasn't just about the price. It wasn't just about how much it was and when can you get it done. Like we've taught this whole topic or this whole show, it's about the value, right? So when I send that over after calling them and talking to them about it, it's transparent, right? They're able to see exactly what I'm talking about. They're understanding exactly what I'm putting in front of them. But B, it's their decision, right? We live in a different generation now, or we're dealing with a different generation now, and they're used to going on Amazon and clicking through the options they want and buying what they want to buy. Sometimes we have to meet them where they are, not where we want to be as shop owners.
I know we're coming up at the end. I'll just set this up, and then Rick, you can take us home. What I love about this panel and this, first of all, I hope we can do this again because this was awesome. And Carm, thank you so much for facilitating this. It's always so amazing, the stuff that you're able to pull together in the chemistry and everything that you have on your show. Rick, your ability to not only provide the insight and the analysis on what the business is doing from a numbers standpoint, right? So the analytics part of this discussion, but then how you're pairing it with your own wisdom and guidance. It's just incredible. I'm always so impressed by you and your business acumen and your ability to really teach. You're an incredible asset to this business. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Listen, I know we're not going to keep going. We still got monthly and annual numbers. Maybe we could do this again and finish up. I'd like to say two things. Number one, the easiest thing I've ever heard about opportunity cost is when you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Make sure you're saying yes to the right thing, right? If you have the European car that's going to take you 9 hours to figure out and get paid for 2, I'd rather do 3 brake jobs. I'll make more money, I'll have less stress, and everybody's going to be happier. So be careful what you're saying yes to. That's opportunity cost. Very simple. The other thing I will talk about that Lucas brought up, I love the fact that you can send estimates to customers. And Carolyn, we can have a dialogue offline on this at some point. I don't like sending them before, because typically customers make decisions based on 2 criteria, 3 really. First, they trust you, right? If they don't trust you, they're not buying from you anyway. But then the second 2 criteria that they're buying for, sure, I'm sorry, my iPad, the camera's the opposite way, is time and money. Do I want to allocate time to this right now, and do I want to allocate the money to this right now? And those are the 2 questions they ask. If you haven't built value up first, you can end up with a customer that sees the price, says, hell no, and you can't get the opportunity to provide the value and get them to understand what the consequences are if they don't do the work. Whereas if you talk to them about the work that's recommended, so you send them the inspection, you get to see when they open the inspection, you call and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know I sent you an inspection. Oh, man, I just opened it. You must be a mind reader. Oh, wow, that's great. And then you talk to them about what's needed and say, here, let me send you the estimate now, and I'll answer any questions you have on it. That is gold right there. I want you to understand one other thing. I had a shop, my second shop, 1995 to 2002. And when we did this, we had customers sign service orders with authorized amounts on it so that they knew what they were authorizing us to right at the beginning. If they dropped it off, we actually called them, and then we stamped it and documented it by law. If we called with an estimate, we gave them the numbers, all of them. I want you to write this down, whoever's listening. Transparency is a differentiator. Transparency is a differentiator for a shop, because customers know what to expect. One of the nicest things you can say to a customer is, Harm, I want you to understand that when you work with us, you stay in control of the repair process the whole way through. So we are going to be 100% transparent about everything we're doing, what the possible costs are going to be or investment would be for you, and you're going to be able to say yes and no the whole way through. That gives a customer, customers don't mind spending money. They don't like it when you spend it without asking them. Give them the ability to say yes or no, and you are going to find so many more people are happier and say yes all the time.
What you just said was tear the wall down, or build the wall of trust up, one way or the other. To me, that's the kind of relationship I want with anybody I do business with. The plumber, the electrician, the technician, it just doesn't matter.
Transparency and value. It's all about those two things.
Carolyn, are you going to do a part 2 here with Rick?
Rick, would you be interested in coming back and talking us through monthly and yearly?
I'd love to. And God knows what else we talk about there, right? But yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
warning, it just will not be on analytics.
No, Lucas, would you like to come back and do this again? Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Anytime.
Hey, one of the things I want to tell everyone is that next Friday, Carolyn is on the Town Hall Academy with John Epstein, Rory Baller, and Dave Kusa. We're talking about that electric vehicle 2035 mandate in California. And as I've always said, whichever way California goes, so does my state, New York. But I think it's something we all have to pay attention to. So I've got 4 incredible people, leaders in California, ASECA, and we're going to talk about it because it needs to be talked about. Doesn't mean that we need to sweat it out, but we need to hear from that perspective. So thank you for joining me next Friday, Carolyn.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rick White, 180 Biz, Chief Everything Officer over at. No, you're not anymore. It's good. You decided to delegate. Big word. We should remember that. Lucas Underwood, LNN Performance, Carolyn Cocolette, CEO, Shop-Ware and Luscious Garage. And thank you all for being here.
Take care.
Let's share this over the course of the next 2 or 3 days on social media. And I do believe you'll probably post this video on your website because there's so much here to learn. Thank you all for hanging out. Analytics with Rick White.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.